Hey Paula, I'm just dropping by to check out your work this week. Let me give it a run through real quick. Okay. Um, the biggest thing that I would suggest so far, basically, I would suggest that I would keep it in stepped mode as long as you can, and work on your poses there, because right now it looks like there's a lot of computer in betweening going on. Like for instance, the arm, it looks like you got a pose there, and you've got a pose at the top, and then the like 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 frames that are in between there are all very evenly spaced, and they look splined. But I think your poses could involve the rest of the body a little more. It seems like a lot of the movement is just in the head or in the arms at this point. Basically, just keep in mind that everything you do sort of starts in the hips. What my last teacher told me was to think of the hips as sort of an upside down pendulum. So if you think of the pendulum rig that we had in class 1, where it's got this little ball on the end and it swings around, basically think of the body the same way except upside down, to where the base is here and the head is the ball on the top, and everything in between there has successive joints that when this bottom piece moves or rotates, the next section will move, and the next section after that will move, and then the next section after that will move, and the arms will follow the same way. But basically, look to include a nice line of action in your key poses, and I would really stay in step mode as long as you can. The problem that I had when I was in the last class was I would do storytelling poses, and I would have a pose in blocking that was over here, and I would have a pose that was over here, and both of the poses looked fine and they read okay, but basically I wasn't thinking hard enough about how he was going to get from this pose to this pose over here, and I would sort of fake something in between or let the computer do it, which is going to stick it right in between the two. So basically I found out that if I'm not keying, at least when I come to the blocking plus stage, if I'm not keying around every 4 or 6 frames as a guideline, if I'm not keying the whole body in some way, then generally I'm not thinking hard enough about how I'm going to get from one place to the other, and all of the in-betweens are going to look a little weird, because I would even have it to the point to where I would have one pose over here that is a terrible drawing, and I would have another pose that would be right after that, but his feet would move, and I wouldn't think about, oh crap, his feet are going to jump from here to here, and I don't have any steps in there. And then when I would come to spline it out, he would either slide in this direction, or I would have to fake 2 footsteps to get him into this position, and it would look weird because he would have to take these 2 weird shuffle steps to get into this one pose that I thought was really cool, but it didn't come across as natural. So basically, take your time in step mode and get the poses to to where basically they look like a drawing, to where you'll have him sort of bending over the table and looking at what's on the table, saying, hey, what's this over here, and sort of having the whole body participate in the pose, and then have several poses linked together that way. And then if the benefit to having key poses on every 4 or 6 frames is that when it comes time to convert things to spline, you have that much less that the computer can screw up for you. So you don't really have, there's not as much guesswork involved. But basically, watch video reference of yourself, and watch how your hips move. Just follow your hips, and then watch how everything else follows that. Because when you stand in place, usually you don't stand straight in one place. You'll usually sway to one side, and then you'll sway back, or something like something to that effect. And right now, it looks like the hips just stay locked in that one position the whole time. Especially when you're standing. It's not as much when you're sitting. It's a little more subtle. It still happens, but when you're standing, generally this area never really stays still. It doesn't go crazy. It doesn't jump all over the place, but it's just a little sway that sort of happens through the whole rest of the body. And you can even see it when I'm sitting down in the chair. So basically that's my suggestion to you, is to work more in step mode as opposed to working in splines, because it can be really easy to let the computer sort of run away with it, and a lot of times it'll take it in a totally weird direction that you didn't intend for it to do at all, to where you could start with his hand out here and have another pose with his hand over here, and all of a sudden it thinks the in-between needs to be way the heck up here, and his hand is twisted around all backwards, and it jumps all the way from here all the way back down to there. And I found out if you do things in step mode, you have a lot less chances of that happening. But when you do that, make sure that you involve the whole spine in it, because the whole spine works as one unit. You don't necessarily have this section by itself and this section by itself. Usually it creates one big line that goes all the way up through the head, and you've kind of got some of that going on, but you could push it a little further. Just watch the silhouette of his back and try and push that motion a little more. Other than that, just keep going. Just keep pushing yourself forward. If something doesn't work, don't be afraid to just tear it all down and start over again. It's going to be a lot more work, but if you have a solid foundation to work from, it's gonna show, rather than trying to fix things that are already causing you problems. But if you have any questions about how to do anything, if you have any questions, if you just need somebody to talk to, that's fine. Send me a personal message. I am generally always on AMIM. I am more than happy to talk with you about anything that might be going on. If you need any help, if Maya's giving you a hard time and you can't get anyone on the forums to answer you, generally I'm pretty decent at it. Send me a PM. I'll be around. I'll be in touch. Keep working. Keep up the good work.